Hi, and welcome to Professor Pincushion. In this tutorial, we're going to be working on Kwik Sew Pattern 4003. We're going to be focusing on creating view B, which is the bikini. So let's take a quick look at an example of what we'll be creating today. This bikini has straps that tie behind the neck and back. You can see the top has layered pinked edges for a unique look. The bikini bottom also has a pinked ruffle to match with the top. Let's continue with the information on the envelope. The first thing I'm going to consult, which is on the back of the pattern envelope, is going to be the body measurement chart. This is going to determine what size we're cutting out and also how much fabric we're going to need. Now you'll see here it's split up by bust, waist, and hip, and we also have back, waist length. But this is for a bikini, so we're going to keep it very simple. The top row for each section is going to be in inches, which you can see over here, and below that is going to be in centimeters. They just have the range of inches in order to determine the size. You can see the size is listed up here on top. So you kind of just have to kind of fit yourself in a range, and then that's going to tell you. Now the nice thing is, since it's a bikini and you have the bra part and then you have the panty section, you can do two different sizes. So if you fit better in a medium for the bust line, you can cut out a medium for the bra, but you may be a small in your hips, so then the panty section you can cut out a small. Next, it's important to look at the suggested fabrics. Since we're doing a bathing suit, it is so important that we do a knit that has a two-way stretch. So they're saying definitely use the spandex lycra, and they actually give you this really handy chart right here on the side. So if you cut a piece that's 4 inches out of your fabric, by holding it at the end, you should be able to stretch it to here. If you're able to do that, then the fabric is going to be appropriate to use. Next, we can figure out how much fabric we're going to need. And it's nice because they broke it up depending on whether or not you're using 45-inch width fabric or 60-inch width fabric. And this is all in yards. So depending on what you have, you're going to have to look at the fabric information tag on the end of the bolt. If I'm using, say, for example, 60, then I can go ahead and ignore this. We also know that we're doing view B, the bikini, so we can ignore everything that says view A. So I'm doing 60, doing view B. I'm going to find my size. I'm going to go down the column and then go across the view B row. And it says I'm going to need 5/8 of a yard of my main fabric I'm using for the bikini. Then we also need lining. So this is going to go on the inside of the bathing suit. And it's the same thing, view B. I'm going down to small, and I'm going to need a 1/2 yard of lining fabric. Then we also need additional notions. So not only do you need some matching all-purpose thread, but for the bikini you're going to need 7 yards of 3/8 of an inch swimwear elastic. And because of the design that they have on the bathing suit, they also suggest you use either a rotary cutter that has a pinking blade, or in my case, since I don't have that, I'm just going to use my pinking shears. As an optional way, you can also have a 1 pair of swimsuit bra cups if you want to add a little extra padding. This diagram is going to tell us what pieces make up our garment and which ones we need to cut out. So if you're only doing view B, you only need to cut out the pieces that have view B behind it. So we can go ahead and ignore these ones if we're not doing view A. And they also make it really easy. Down here, it just tells you view B, you need to cut out pattern pieces 4 through 15. But it's also nice that they break it out, and you'll see the numbers here correspond with the numbers that they show on the actual pieces, which is nice because if you are doing 2 different sizes for the bra and for the panty, you can see, oh, for panties, they're going to be pieces 11 through 15. So that way it makes it a little bit easier for you. Sometimes your pattern pieces will have more than one size attached to them. So you'll see something that has a series of lines, and then they'll have the sizes. So you just find your size, and then you cut out the line that's above that. Now if it's just a single line, then that means it's for all sizes. And if you see symbols like this, these are notches, and they're very important because they're for helping us place pieces together in a certain way. So you need to either make an indication by cutting into the notch, just doing a slit. Just make sure that you don't cut into or past the seam allowance, or you can do like I did where I cut a little outward notch. After you cut out your pattern pieces, then you can look at the layout direction they have. So this diagram shows you how they suggest you lay out your pieces on your fabric. And they suggest it in a particular way because in this particular example, it's very important that you place your pieces in a way that you get the greatest degree of stretch going around your body instead of up and down. If you're using the Lycra, you'll be able to stretch it this way, but you should be able to stretch it more going up and down with the salvages up at the top, and then you have a fold on one side. Now you'll see some of these pieces like 12 and 11 and some of these other ones need to be placed on the fold. To know for sure, you're going to look at the actual pattern pieces and it'll say on one side place on a fold or put this side on fold or something like that. Now this one, piece number 10, you'll see here there's a note and they want you to cut out one number 10, but they want it to be twice the length of the pattern piece. They weren't able to fit it on the side here next to 14, so they just put it across the top, and all you do is just pin it to one side. You can draw a line around it. Then you could take off the pattern piece. You're going to flip it over to the other side with the ends meeting up in the middle, so you end up with one long piece that's double the size of the original pattern. Since this is folded in half, some of these pieces you'll end up getting two just by cutting them out once. Now this setup is for the 45-inch width fabric. Below it we have the 60-inch width. So this is something you would follow if you're doing the wider fabric like I am. It's a kind of a similar thing. On this side, the fabric is folded in half with the salvages on the end, and you have some pieces placed on the fold, so you get one long piece, and then a couple of them are just put on there, so you end up getting 2 of 5 and 2 of 6. Then they want you to cut off whatever fabric is left over, and over here shows you the next setup where you're folding it on the bottom big enough so you can cut 12 on a fold, and then you're folding it again on the top so you can cut out piece number 11 on the fold and then get your other pieces as well. Lastly, we need to cut out our lining pieces. So our lining pieces should also be cut out of a Lycra type fabric, so it's also stretchy. And for this, we only need to cut out pieces 9 and 13. 13 needs to be placed on a fold. You can see the fabric is folded in half. And then 9, we just need 2 pieces of that. The nice thing about these directions is they give you some tips on sewing with Lycra fabric. Now, if you're using an overlock machine, just using a regular overlock stitch is probably fine. You can just sew how you normally will. If you're using a sewing machine like I am, then there are a few different options you can do. If you have a machine that can only do a straight stitch, and they show you an example right here, probably what you're going to have to do is as you're sewing, you're going to slightly pull the fabric. That way it's going to have some stretch once you let go. You don't want to pull a lot, just a little bit. So they show doing a regular stitch at your seam allowance, and then up at the top you're going to do another set of stitches. Probably best if you have a machine that can at least do a zigzag stitch. And they show you a couple of examples here. So this is a very narrow zigzag stitch, and then they do a medium one on top. And then here's the same thing, but they have a zigzag stitch which is made up of little stitches. It's a good idea to at least take scraps of fabric before you start sewing your garment so you can experiment on it, stitch it with a couple of different examples, and then stretch the fabric to see if it's something you're going to like, because we definitely want the bathing suit to have some stretch when we're sewing with it. Now this one at the top, this is probably my ideal one to use. My machine calls it an overcast seam. And here's an example of me just doing it on a scrap. So it looks like a regular stitch. I don't have to stretch it as I'm sewing. I just sew as normal. And then you'll see that it still has some stretchiness to it. So for me, this is perfect. Looking through the rest of our directions, we can see what our seam allowance is going to be. So in this case, it's 5/8 of an inch unless the directions state anything other than that. So if they just say do a seam, we're always going to assume it's 5/8 of an inch. Now to read the directions, I'm just going to scoot this over a little bit. You'll see up here they have the illustration code. So if it's dark, that means we're looking at the right side. And this is for reading the pictures that we see right here. So this would be looking at the right side. White is going to be looking at the wrong side of the garment or the fabric, and then there's the lining. So right side of lining, wrong side of lining. So we're not going to be doing the cover up. I'm actually going to be starting on the other side of the page, and it's going to be swimsuit. So we're going to start with step 1, and basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to read the written directions, and then I'm going to demonstrate what you need to do for that step. Step 1 is broken up into multiple parts, so we're just going to take one part at a time. The first section is trim bra strap close to edge along top panel seam using a rotary cutter with a pinking blade or using pinking shears. Trim bra top panel along middle panel seam and bra middle panel along bottom panel seam in same manner. This part is very easy. So you're going to take your pieces that are 4, 5, and 6, and you should have 2 of each one because there's 2 parts to the bra section. I'm just going to show you with one section, but you're going to do everything twice. So at the bottom of each of these pieces, the bottom of 4, the bottom of 5, and the bottom of 6, you're going to either use a rotary cutter with a pinking blade, or you're going to use pinking shears, which means it's going to be scissors that have this zigzag pattern, and you're going to trim off the bottom portion so you end up getting a zigzag design to it. And I actually have one already done. And you're not trimming off a lot. You're just doing it on the edge so you end up getting this design. And again, you're going to do the same thing for your 5 piece and then for the 6 piece as well. Next, you're going to lap bra strap over bra top panel having pinked edge along placement line for strap. Top stitch 1/2 inch from pinked edge using a double needle. If you look at piece 5, because we're going to attach 4 with 5, and on our pattern piece of number 5, you're going to see a line, and it says placement line for strap. This is actually 3/4 of an inch from the top of the number 5 pattern. And you should have marked this on your fabric piece. And you can just see my chalk marks very faintly here. You're going to have both pieces right side up. You're going to take the pink edge of the number 4 piece, which is the bra strap, and you're going to have it so it lines up with that placement. And you're just going to pin them together because then we're going to take them to the machine in order to do the top stitch. When using a double needle, also known as a twin needle, you're actually going to be sewing with 2 spools of thread. So the first one, I'm just going to thread like normal. So you start with whatever you do, and you're going to have to look at your machine manual to see if your machine can even do 2 spools. My machine comes with another attachment, so I can attach another spool up here. And then I'm just going to thread this one just like I do with my other one. You just want to be careful that you don't get your threads too tangled. You want to keep them as neat as possible. So I'm just carefully going to go through this one. And then we'll show the needle next. I was able to purchase my twin needle from the fabric store, and because it has a single base at the top, you just put it in like you would a regular needle. Now you can see that you have to thread each individual needle. We have 2 of them here. And then you just have your bobbin as normal. Now the packaging on mine said that you need to have a machine that has the functionality of doing a zigzag stitch, because what they want you to do is you set it for a zigzag, but then you put the width of the stitch all the way to 0. So it's basically doing a straight stitch. I did both. I did the zigzag and then I just did a regular straight seam, and mine worked perfectly both ways. If your machine cannot do the double needle and you can only do a single needle, you can go ahead and do that. I would just do 2 rows of stitches and just make them 1/8 of an inch apart. Now working with Lycra can be a little bit challenging because not only does it stretch, but also can be slippery and it could just be frustrating to work with. So here are some tips. If you find that when you're starting a stitch and you're starting on the edge and then it ends up getting sucked down into the bobbin area, don't start on the complete edge moving forward. Now you can actually go a little bit ahead of it. As long as you're still within that 5/8 seam allowance, it should be fine. So as long as you're starting just a little ways from the edge, it might help a little bit. Also, what I find tends to help is sandwiching my fabric between tissue paper. So I have tissue paper here on top, and then I also have tissue paper on the bottom. When I finish stitching, I just tear the tissue paper off. Now in this particular case with the double stitches, it's definitely easier to take it off the top than the bottom. Because we have the bobbin crisscrossing on the bottom of this particular stitch, I can't always get off all the tissue paper, but there's going to be lining on the back, so I'm not really concerned about it. As long as you get all the tissue paper off the front, then you should be fine. So I have my tissue paper underneath where I'm stitching, and then the one on top, I'm making sure that this bottom edge right here is lining up with the bottom edge of my zigzagging right here, because we need to stitch a 1/2 inch from this bottom here, so about right here. So if I pin my tissue paper to my fabric right on that edge, I'm just marking with a fabric marker a 1/2 inch up, so that way I have a guideline to use as I'm sewing. And then I just stitch right on that tissue paper, and what I find is the tissue paper really helps it feed evenly. If I don't use the tissue paper, I tend to see that my seams or my stitches end up looking a little wavy, which drives me nuts. And this way, definitely my stitches come out a lot flatter. To continue with step 1, you're next going to lap bra strap and bra top panel over bra middle panel, having pinked edge along placement line for top panel. Top stitch 1/2 inch from pinked edge using a double needle. Then you're going to lap bra strap top and middle panels over bra bottom panel, having pinked edge along placement line for middle panel. Top stitch 1/2 inch from pinked edge using a double needle. Repeat for other bra. We're just going to repeat. So now we're taking this piece. So this is the piece that we just stitched 4 to 5, and it looks pretty good. Let me show you. I just want to show you the back real fast. So you can see a little bit of my tissue paper stuck in there, which you can nitpick and take out or just not use tissue paper on the back. But like I said, since there's going to be a lining, I'm not too concerned about it. So you're just going to do the same thing. Right side facing up, you're going to take piece number 6, right side facing up. You have the placement line again on the pattern piece. You're going to make sure that the edge of your pinking cut here is going to line up with that line, and then you're going to do the double stitch with your twin needle. Then you're going to grab piece number 7. So this is the bottom part of the bra, and I'm just going to scoot this down a little bit. And you're going to do the same exact thing. This piece also has the placement line. So this is right side up, right side up. All you're going to do is now you're going to take this part, line it with the line, do your double stitch just like we've done before, and then this section is complete, and you can go ahead and do it with the other bra section. Same exact thing. Step 2, pin cup lining to bra wrong sides together, base side and strap edges. So now we're going to be using piece number 9, and this is what you should have cut out of your lining. Of course, you have 2, 1 for each side. So you're going to take one set, and here is my finished piece that we just created in step 1. And I'm going to lay it so it's going to be wrong side facing up. I'm going to put this on so it's wrong side together. So I'm looking at the right side of the lining, and you're just going to line everything up. And you may find that the lining doesn't go completely to the edge of your main fabric, because mine definitely does it. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to pin around the perimeter. You don't have to do this area here. You're just doing here, across the top, and then across this other side, and then we're going to do a basting stitch in this area. For the basting stitch, we can go ahead and switch back to a single needle. Now I'm using a ballpoint, which is great for knits, and my size is 1070. And I'm just going to go ahead, start basting my pieces. Now with basting, you're going to use the largest stitch on your machine, and you don't have to worry about back stitching, and you're just going to baste those areas that you've done before. And it doesn't really matter if you do it at the 5/8 or you do it at the 1/2 inch. This is just a temporary stitch to hold the pieces together. You can see I'm going to go ahead and use my tissue paper trick. It just really helps it run a lot smoother, and it's a little bit more manageable, at least for me. You can do whatever system works for you. Again, you don't have to do any back stitches. Make sure you have the largest stitch and go ahead and baste. Step 3, for each side, cut 4 pieces of 3/8 inch wide swimmer elastic in the following lengths. And then depending on what size you're going to do, you're going to cut 4 pieces with the inches they give you. So I'm doing a small. So I'm going to do 4 13.5 inches in length. Pin one piece of elastic to wrong side of bra at each side with one end of elastic at bottom edge and the other end at the strap edge, having the edge of elastic even with the edge of the fabric. Stitch on top of the elastic, stretching elastic evenly to fit. See elastic in sewing procedures. Turn under elastic to wrong side to form hem and top stitch using a double needle, stretching elastic to fit. Repeat for other bra. So you're taking each of your elastic pieces. You're going to line it up at the top of your strap piece and you're going to line up with the raw edge on the side here. And you're just going to pin all the way down. Now it's kind of curvy at one point, so you may have to stretch it a little bit to go around the curve and then pin to the end here. And you can see I've already done it on this side. Then we're going to take it to our machine and you're going to do a zigzag stitch all along the top of the elastic. I'm going to go ahead and stitch my zigzag stitch right in the middle of my elastic. Now it's a little tough to get started. You just got to kind of help it a little bit to get started. Now you can either do a 3-step zigzag, which is what I'm doing. So it's 3 individual stitches that make up each zig or zag, or you can do a wide regular zigzag. Next, what you're going to do is, this is the part that we just sewed our elastic on. I have the piece right side facing up, and all I'm going to do is take the elastic portion of it and I'm going to turn it under. So then I'm filling the edge of the elastic up here at the fold. So if we turn it this way, you can see the elastic is completely folded over. And then you're going to use your double needle and you're going to top stitch all along the side that has the elastic. And you can see I've already done it on this side. Step 4, pin strap extension to fabric side of bra at strap seam, matching notches and having fold line on strap at neckline of bra. Stitch strap seam ending at fold line. Press seam allowances towards strap extension. Fold strap extension along fold line, right sides together, and stitch outer edge and end. Turn straps right side out on outside, hand sew opening to strap seam. Repeat for other bra. So it seems like there's a lot. We're just going to take one part at a time. First, you're going to need your bra piece, and then you're going to need piece number 8. Again, there's 2 of them because you need one for each side. Oh, let me just point out on this one, you'll notice that there'll be a fold line right in the middle. And I just started my fold line right here, so I would know where it is at the top. You're going to have this right side up. This part, this is right side down, but this part at the top is going to line up with the notches that are up here. So I'm just going to scoot this down. Lay this on top of here. You're matching up the raw edge with the raw edge. Now this side of the strap is going to line up right with your fold line here. And then your notches should match up. So you see I'm only matching up this one, not this one, because this is eventually going to be folded over. So all I'm going to do is pin, and then we're going to stitch a 5/8 seam allowance just for the part of our strap right here. When doing your seam, this is where you can decide on whether or not you want to do a zigzag stitch or an overcast stitch. You're just going to make sure that you go ahead and do a back stitch. And once you get to this point, you can go ahead and stop stitching. Next, you're going to take the extension strap and you're going to pull it up away from the rest of the bra, and you'll see that you'll have your seam allowance naturally folding over. Now we're looking at the wrong side here, but this is the right side right here. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to take this extension piece, you're going to fold it in half so the right sides are together. So you're folding right on that fold line again. You're going to pin and stitch your 5/8 seam allowance, starting here at the base of where your strap meets your bra, and you're going to stitch up here and then across here, again at the 5/8 mark. I then trim my seams, and I'm going to take this part and I'm going to flip it right side out. So then all my seam allowance in the top of this is going to be tucked in the inside of the extension. of the strap extension. And then we're going to slip stitch this bottom portion fold closed, but we'll get a little bit closer so we can show you how to do that. You're going to do the slip stitch by hand, so you need to get some matching thread and a hand needle. I'm actually using a contrasting thread, so it'll be a little bit easier for you to see. And you can see this is the strap extension here, and here is the strap, the top of the strap from the bra section. I'm just going to grab a little bit right along the fold line here and try to tuck in my knot so it's hidden. So now it's on the extension part. So now I'm going to grab a little bit of the top of the bra strap. And then a little bit back of the fold of the extension. And I'm just going to go back and forth between the two sides. And if you use a matching thread, you're not going to see that at all, but you could just barely see my orange. So now I'm going to grab some of the top of the strap, then the extension, the strap, and I'm just going to zigzag back and forth until this whole thing is stitched. Step 5, bra cups are optional. Try on suit, insert cups and pin in place. Depending on type of cups used, pin or attach to seam allowances or lining with hand stitches. Pin lining to bra bottom edge and overcast edges together. Repeat for other bra. So if you want to, you can use a bra cup, and there are different types. This is just a type that I happen to have, and you're just going to place it in between your lining and the main fabric on the outside. But you definitely want to at least lay this on your bust so you can kind of place where you want the cup to be. And then you can pin it into place. Now to hand sew it, I usually like to flatten it out so then I can make sure that I don't have any wrinkles and everything is lying flat. And then I just tack around the edges and I'm just attaching it to the lining and the bra cup together. If yours is big enough, you can actually just stitch it to the seam allowance, so then it's not going to be as noticeable. You can see the other one I've done here. You can definitely see all my stitches all the way around. But if you don't want any cups, you also have the option of not putting in any cups at all. The second part of this step is you're going to actually pin this bottom edge right here, because this is now open. So you're going to do this after you put in the bra cups, if that's what you want to do. And you're going to do an overcast stitch all along this bottom edge. So you're doing it right close to the edge. Step 6, to make casing for tie at bottom edge, fold 3/4 of an inch to lining side and stitch close to edge. Repeat for other bra. So all you're doing is you're taking this bottom edge and you're folding it up so it's 3/4 of an inch. Now the problem is this bottom portion is wider than what you're folding it up to. So what you'll find, it's not going to fit. You're trying to fold it up and then all of a sudden you're going to get puckers and creases. So for me, what I did in order to fix this problem is I did 2 rows of basting stitches that you can see right here. I did one at 5/8 and then one at the 3/8 mark, and I'm not doing any back stitching. So these are my gathering stitching. And then on one side, I'm just going to pull the top threads and it's going to start gathering the fabric. And I'm not trying to really create any big wrinkles or anything. I'm just trying to ease it in so it's going to fit a little bit better and it's going to be a little bit more evenly distributed instead of all bunched up in one section. So I just kind of pull it and then I just kind of distribute it so it meets in the middle and everything. And then you're going to fold it up and go ahead and do your stitch right on the edge. So your zigzag stitch, your overcast stitch. I've already did it on my other one, so let me bring that one in. So you can see my stitches right down here and it's all stitched up. So now I have a casing. You can see where I'm putting my fingers right here so I can put my tie through it. Step 7, fold bra tie in half lengthwise, right sides together and stitch using a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Trim close to stitching, turn right sides out using a loop turner or follow these procedures. Cut a small opening on folded edge a 1/2 inch from one end. Hook bobby pin through opening and insert into strap. Guide bobby pin through strap to other end. Trim end at cut opening. So you're going to take your piece number 10, and you should only have one, which is double the size of the pattern piece, because you should have placed it on the fold or did the layout directions, which was for the 45-inch width fabric. You have a right side facing up. All you're going to do is fold it in half. Let me grab my pins here. And you're going to do it for the whole length of the tie. And then you're going to stitch 3/8 of an inch from the raw edge. So instead of doing your 5/8 seam allowance, you're only doing a 3/8 seam allowance. After I stitch my seam allowance, I'm going to go ahead and trim off the extra seam allowance there. And then you're going to use either a loop turner, or if you don't have a loop turner, you can use their idea, which is to use a bobby pin for turning the whole tie right side out. So all I did is just snip on the folded side of the tie a 1/2 inch from the edge, and I'm cutting almost to the bottom here, being careful not to cut into my stitches. Then you're going to stick the bobby pin on the opening. Both sides are going in to the tie, and then you're just going to pull it through. So I'm holding my bobby pin with one hand and then gathering it with my other hand, and then I'm going to pull. Once you finish turning the whole thing right side out, what you can do is go ahead and cut off that end, that 1/2 inch that you cut into. So we have a nice end. Step 8. For broad tie, cut one piece of 3/8 of an inch wide swimwear elastic of the following length. And they give you a chart, and you're taking your 3/8 inch elastic and you're cutting whatever they say for your size. So for me, the small, I'm doing 55 inches. Insert elastic into tie, having ends even. Top stitch along center of tie using a double needle. Insert tie into bra casings. Tie knots at end of ties. So now you're taking your tie, and it's all flipped out right side out now, and you're going to be sticking your 3/8 inch elastic into the middle of your tie. And you can see at the end, I just stuck a little safety pin, so it's a little bit easier for me to get through it. And all I'm going to do is just kind of the same thing, where I'm gathering the fabric on to my safety pin, and then I'm pulling the fabric on the other end with my other hand. So it just makes it a little bit easier. So this is going to go all the way through so that the ends of the elastic are even with the ends of the tie. Once you finish, you're again going to use your double needle, and you're going to do that double top stitch right down the middle of the tie so it's nice and flat. And then after that's done, we'll show you what to do next in order to finish up the bra side of the bikini. Lastly, you're going to take your tie and you're going to put it through your casing at the bottom of the bra section. And I actually put a safety pin at the end of this as well, so it'll be a lot easier for me to get it through the casing. Once you have it through, at the end of each tie, you're going to tie a knot, so that way it's not going to come accidentally through the casing again. And then the top of your bikini is done. Step 7. Pin front to back right sides together at crotch seam matching centers. Pin right side of front lining to wrong side of back and stitch through all layers. Fold lining toward front and pin raw edges together at waist and leg openings, stitch together close to waist, sides and leg openings using a narrow zigzag stitch. We're going to be working on the panties now of our bikini. And for this, we're going to be working with piece 12 and 11. Both of these pieces should have been cut on the fold, so when you open it up, you have one that's twice the size. First part is very easy. There's several parts to this, so we're just going to do one part at a time. So the first part, what you're going to do is, you're going to take each of these pieces, the right side facing up, and I'm going to lay them on top of each other. So this section down here is going to meet. Now you'll notice that this piece kind of curves outward and this piece curves inward. I'm just going to force this bottom piece to kind of curve outward like this top piece. And it's a little, this one seems a little bit smaller. So what I would do is I would pin the ends and then stretch the bottom in order for it to fit this section. Then you're going to do your 5/8 seam allowance. Next, you're going to flip your panties over, so you're looking at the wrong side of the back, And you're going to grab piece number 13. And this is the front lining. And so you had one of these. And you're going to lie it so it goes right side of lining to wrong side of back. And you're going to do the same thing where you're pinning this bottom section here and then doing a 5/8 seam allowance. After creating this seam, I always like to trim it. Then you're going to be bringing the wrong side of the lining to the wrong side of the front. So I'm just going to flip this over. So everything's going to be lining up. And you're going to be matching your notches area. Now the lining should be slightly smaller than your main fabric, which is fine. Go ahead and pin from here to here, and you're going to go ahead and stitch right along the edge using a narrow zigzag stitch. Step 8, stitch front to back right sides together at side seams. So all you're doing, basically your panties are wrong side out, and the right side of the front goes to the right side of the back again, and you're going to attach them here at the side seam. Now the back is going to be a little shorter than the front, but that's fine. I'm making sure that it matches up on top. If the front extends past the back a little bit, then that should be fine, and you're going to sew your 5/8 seam allowance on this side and do the same thing on this side as well. Step 9. Trim ruffle close to edge along bottom edge using a rotary cutter with a pinking blade or using pinking shears. Stitch ruffle right sides together at side seam, pin wrong side of ruffle to right side of waist with raw edges even, matching right side seams, and fold on ruffle to left side seam. Base ruffle to waist edge, stretching waist edge to fit ruffle. So we're going to be working on the ruffle that's going to be at the top of the panty. And you're going to need piece 14. Again, this is another one that's cut on the fold. So you can only see half of it right now. First thing you need to do is one side needs to have the pinking design. So either use a rotor cutter with a pinking blade, or I use my pinking shears and just trimmed off the bottom. Again, you're just doing it on the edge, so you're not cutting off too much. Then you're going to fold the piece in half with right sides together. So the right side is facing up. I'm folding it in half, bring these raw edges together down here, and you're going to go ahead and stitch your 5/8 seam allowance. Next, we're going to baste our ruffle to the top of our bikini bottom here. So the flat side, this raw edge is going to line up with this raw edge, and you're going to pin it all the way around the whole thing. Now our seam that we have in our ruffle here, this seam is going to line up with the right side seam of the panty, and this left side seam of the panty is going to line up with this folded in half exactly. So I just put a little mark, and this mark is going, I'm just going to line it up with this. So I'm going to open up. Now this is right side out, this is right side out. And slip this through here. And I'm just going to start with the side seam on this side. And then I'm going to match up the mark I made here with the side seam on the other side. And you may have to stretch one of the pieces in order to get it to fit. You're going to pin all the way around the whole thing, and then you're going to baste it. Now your seam allowance of it basted doesn't really matter because it's just to hold these two pieces together so we can do the next step. Step 10. Stitch waist binding right sides together at side seam and press seam allowance open. Divide binding and waist into fourths and mark. We're going to be dealing with piece number 15 now. Again, this was one cut on the fold. And I have it right side facing up. You're going to do just the same thing we did with the ruffle. You're going to bring it together at the raw edge, the short raw edge here. So it's folded in half. Right sides again are together. And down here, you're going to go ahead and stitch your 5/8 seam allowance. And in this particular case, you're going to go ahead and press your seam allowances open. Flip your binding right side out, and then you're going to divide it in fourths. And I'm actually going to do this with straight pins. So what I'm doing is I'm marking my seam line right here with a pin. Then I'm going to fold it in half from this point. And then I'm going to put a pin at that halfway point. And then I'm going to divide each of these sections now in half as well and mark it with a straight pin. So now I'm going to take this point, point to point, divide it in half, and don't pull it, just gently mark it in half because we want it to be accurate. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So you should end up having 4 marks total. So now I'm going to do this side, find the halfway point. This is going to help us evenly put on our binding to the top of our bikini bottom. All right, so once you have that all marked up, you're then going to do the same thing with the top of the panty. So you can see my pins are already in here. And you're just going to do the same exact thing. So you end up with 4 pins at the top of this as well. Step 11. Pin binding to waist right sides together, matching seam on binding to right side seam and the remaining marks. Stitch 3/8 of an inch from edge using a narrow zigzag stitch, stretching binding if necessary to fit waist. The binding is now going to go on the top half above the ruffle here at the panty. You're going to make sure that your binding is wrong side out, but this is still right side out. And just like we did with the ruffle, you're going to have the binding go over it, and then the top of the bathing suit goes in between. So my side seam here, basically you're just going to be matching your pins now. My side seam of my binding is going to match the right side seam of the panty. So now I could just use one pin to pin these together. And then I would do the other half as well, because I like to do halves and then half that one. So now I'm going to match up these pins. And you're just going to go all the way around, just like you did with the ruffle. Now in this particular case, you're going to be sewing a 3/8 inch seam allowance using a narrow zigzag. Now I'm going to match up these ones. And you may have to stretch your binding a little bit in order to get it to fit, which is fine, as long as you're not stretching it too much. And then I'm going to do the one in the back as well. And then I would just add in pins in between just to kind of make sure that everything, the raw edges are lined up. And then you're again going to stitch that 3/8 narrow zigzag all the way around the whole piece. Step 12. Cut pieces of 3/8 of an inch wide swimwear elastic in the following lengths. For the waist, you're going to cut 1 depending on your size. That's going to determine the length. And then for the leg, you need to cut 2. Again, it depends on your size. Label elastic pieces, overlap ends of each piece of elastic 3/8 of an inch and stitch together. So you're going to take each of your pieces of elastic and you're going to bring the ends together. Make sure it's not twisted. And you're going to overlap the ends 3/8 of an inch and then go ahead and stitch across. I would stitch across a couple of times because we really want to make sure that it's not going to come apart. And don't forget to label each pair so you know which one is for the leg and then which one's for the waist. Step 13. Divide waist elastic and waist into fourths with pins. Pin elastic to wrong side of waist, matching marks, and edge of elastic even with edge of waist. Stitch on elastic, stretching elastic if necessary to fit. See elastic in sewing procedures. You're going to take your waist elastic and you're going to divide it into fourths and mark it with pins like you see I've done here, and do the same thing with the top of your waist. So my bikini bottom is still right side out. This is the binding that we just sewed on. And what you're going to do is match up the fourths again. So I'm matching pins to pins, and you're going to pin it all the way around, making sure that the top of the elastic meets up with the top of the raw edge of the panties. In between the pins, you can go ahead and do more pins because you may have to stretch the elastic in order for it to fit. like I'm stretching right now, in order to get to the next pin. So you may have to just put in a bunch of pins in order to hold it. Once everything is pinned, you're then going to do your zigzag stitch right in the middle of that elastic like we did with our bikini top, and that's going to secure the elastic to the top of our bikini bottom. Continuing on with the step, fold binding over elastic to wrong side. Top stitch on binding close to seam using a medium zigzag width and a medium to slightly shorter stitch length, or use a double needle. Trim excess binding close to stitches. So all you're going to do now is take your binding and you're going to fold it over the elastic. So now the elastic is going to be covered. You can go ahead and pin this like this all the way around. So it's going to have a nice finished edge. Then you can go ahead and top stitch on the right side of the bikini bottom, close to the seam. We have our seam right here, so probably about right here. You can either do the double needle or you can do a medium zigzag stitch. Once you finish with that, you're going to turn it into the inside of the bikini bottom, and you're going to see your stitches, and you can just trim off the excess fabric that's hanging over. Step 14. Place leg elastic to wrong side of leg opening with edge of elastic even with edge of fabric. Pin elastic without stretching to front leg opening between side seam and notch. Stitch on top of elastic, stretch an elastic to fit back leg opening. See elastic in sewing procedures. Turn under elastic to wrong side to form a hem and top stitch using a double needle, stretching the elastic to fit. This is our last step, and all we have to do is attach our last two remaining pieces of elastic for the leg openings on both sides. Now all you're going to do is, just like we did for the top part, you're going to pin your elastic to the edge, the raw edge of the bikini bottom. Now between your side seam and the single notch, you're not going to stretch the elastic, you're just going to lay it flat. From the notch back up to the side seam, so the back portion of the leg, you can go ahead and stretch the elastic. So from here to here, it's probably going to gather your fabric, but from the notch up to the side seam, it should lie flat. So I'm just going to go ahead, pin this, and after it's pinned, you can go ahead and do your zigzag stitch right in the middle of that elastic. Lastly, you're going to take the elastic and you're going to fold it over so it's still on the inside of the garment. And on the right side, you can go ahead and top stitch using your double needle. On the side that has the gathering, you are going to have to, again, stretch it because you want it to be smooth and flat as you're sewing over it. I would just take it in sections so it's a little bit easier to manage. After you finish the top stitch, go ahead and give a quick look at your bathing suit to see if there are any basting stitches that could be removed. This has been Kwik Sew 4003. We hope you enjoy your new bathing suit and some summertime fun. Make sure to check out our other videos and visit ProfessorPincushion.com to view our complete library with well over 150 sewing video tutorials. New tutorials are released regularly, so make sure to subscribe to be notified of the next release. Thanks for watching!